30 seconds.
30 segundos.
Stand by.
Começando agora a nossa primeira bateria de times de individual masculino correção, evento de número 5, é o penúltimo evento do dia para eles, valendo uma vaga, Daniel, a tão esperada vaga para o CrossFit Games. E olha só, são 50 handstands agora, hein, para abrir a prova.
Isso mesmo, Nath, possivelmente a prova mais cruel desse evento, começando com 50 handstand push-ups, 50 toes to bar, 50 calorias na salt bike, 50 dumbbell box step overs e aí 50 pés de overhead lunge na mão direita e 50 pés de overhead lunge com o dumbbell na mão esquerda. Isso aí. Temos ainda 2 eventos pontuados aqui para os atletas tentarem essa classificação. Como vocês viram aí alguns momentos atrás, a disputa em equipes extremamente acirrada e aqui nada diferente. Disputa extremamente acirrada entre os atletas individuais, tentando conquistar o Latin American Regionals, título de o homem mais condicionado da América Latina e a chance, a honra de representar a nossa região lá em Madison, em agosto para o CrossFit Games 2018.
É isso aí, 1 minuto e 20 de prova. Atletas, finalizando agora a série de handstand push-up, Guilherme Domingues é o primeiro atleta a completar 50 handstand push-ups.
Na raia número 6, Uriel Bloch avança e já começa a sua série de toes to bar, agora seguido do atleta Guilherme Domingues na raia número 9.
É isso aí, 2 atletas trabalhando já nas suas repetições de toes to bar, são 50 repetições de toes to bar e depois 50 calorias de air bike. E aí vai, né, Daniel? Até nosso time cap de 17 minutos. Será que alguém completa essa prova?
Olha, eu não tenho certeza, mas certamente será difícil. Vamos ver aqui então, desse lado aqui da arena, todos os atletas já iniciando a série de toes to bar, Guilherme Domingues. Temos também o Rodrigo Valenzuela, o Mariano Sanches e o Uriel Bloch. Agora do outro lado, na raia de número 4, quem começa também é o mineiro Pedro Castro.
É isso mesmo, depois dos 50 toes to bar, nós temos 50 calorias na salt air bike. O atleta que começou primeiro aí foi o Uriel Bloch, junto com o Guilherme Domingues. O Uriel Bloch, que é o argentino da Big CrossFit, Guilherme Domingues, lá da Aferro CrossFit.
E agora sim, todos os atletas na série, exceto um atleta, temos um atleta, o Rodan Goldbaum, ainda trabalhando na série de handstand push-up. Todos os outros atletas já iniciaram seu toes to bar. Alguns atletas já devem estar aí próximos do final das suas repetições de toes to bar. E em seguida eles avançam para a Salt Air Bike, onde eles completam 50 calorias. E tudo isso, Nath, na verdade é só um aquecimento, porque a prova acontece mesmo aqui na segunda metade da nossa arena, com os dumbbells sobre a caixa e depois o overhead walking lunge com o dumbbell, com um par de dumbbells.
É isso aí, Daniel, já estamos em 3 minutos e 15 de prova agora, atletas realizando suas repetições de toes to bar. Vamos saber quantas repetições. Olha só, Uriel Bloch nas suas últimas repetições vai ser o atleta que vai chegar agora na Salt Bike, o primeiro atleta a entrar na Salt Bike da Big CrossFit. Completando agora, Guilherme Domingues nas suas últimas repetições de toes to bar. Agora sim, atleta Guilherme Domingues vai para a Salt Bike para completar também as suas 50 calorias.
Isso mesmo, 2 atletas aqui na Salt Air Bike. E olha só, curiosidade, o recorde desse evento pertence a ninguém mais, ninguém menos que Patrick Vellner, com 14 minutos e 35 segundos. Hein? Pedro Castro chega agora para abrir a sua série de 50 calorias na Salt Bike.
É isso mesmo, Dani. Mineiro Pedro Castro também já na Salt Air Bike. E agora, do ladinho dele também, chegando mais um atleta Miguel Garduno. minutos e meio de prova. Olha aí, vamos chegar em 5 minutos de prova. Time cap de 17 minutos. Atletas precisam realizar 50 calorias na Assault Air Bike. E depois eu quero bem 50 dumbbell box step overs aí, bem pesadinho para os atletas.
Temos ainda o Miguel Garduno e também o Hold On Gold Ball trabalhando na série de Toast Bar.
Atleta da raia de número 1, Island Davidson, também chegando agora. Na raia de número 2 também. Hold On, agora sim, chegando na sua Assault Air Bike. Apenas um atleta trabalhando no Toast Bar. Seis minutos de prova agora.
6 minutos de prova, lembrando que o time cap para a conclusão desse evento para os homens é de 17 minutos.
É isso mesmo, evento de número 5, individual masculino, é o penúltimo evento do dia e tudo pode mudar, hein? Tivemos aí uma surpresa nos times e agora individual masculino. Vamos para 6 minutos e 50, quase 7 minutos de prova. Atletas realizando suas calorias de airbike. Olha só, Uriel Clark, ele que é o argentino da Big CrossFit, vai ser o atleta que vai sair da bike primeiro, hein, Daniel, para realizar os dumbbell box step overs.
É isso aí, o jogo começa aqui nas caixas, Nath, com o step over duríssimo com um par de dumbbells 70 libras, mas é ele, confirma a liderança, Uriel Bloch chegando primeiro, dando aquela soltada na perna, porque vai exigir muito agora.
Pois é.
Mariano Sanches também aproximando aí das últimas calorias, hein?
Dumbbells de 70 libras, é um dumbbell box step overs aí que nós pudemos acompanhar semana passada durante os regionals. Olha só, Uriel Bloch já iniciando as suas repetições, é um movimento bem pesado, atleta até descansando e soltando a perna aí depois da bike. Mais um atleta, Daniel, chegando agora também para realizar a sua série de dumbbell box step overs.
Pedro Castro avançando para a caixa.
Mineiro chegando agora, Guilherme Domingues vai finalizar também suas calorias de airbike, 8 minutos e 10.
Agora sim, Guilherme Domingues chega ali a caixa também, do outro lado, o Manuel Seiko também já iniciando a série de box step over.
Na raia de número 4, Pedro Castro também agora descansando aí as pernas e avançando o atleta da raia de número 7, Mariano Sanches, primeiro atleta a avançar aqui com o box jump, hein, Daniel?
É isso mesmo, Nath, os atletas vão movimentando as suas caixas aí a cada 8 repetições.
Pois é, a diferença vai ser aqui nesse dumbbell box step overs, 9 minutos de prova, time cap de 17 minutos, DJ Douglas Grimaldi.
Só começando o dia aqui para os atletas que encaram mais um evento, depois desse ainda evento de número 6, uma prova mais rápida, mas certamente um grande teste aí para o condicionamento desses atletas.
E olha só, atleta da raia de número 9, Guilherme Domingues, aparentemente sem dificuldades aí no dumbbell step over, hein?
É isso aí, Guilherme Domingues, tentando alcançar aí algumas posições. Aí, Guilherme Domingos, um atleta muito forte aqui, com excelentes resultados em competições nacionais, tentando alcançar aí, subir algumas posições no leaderboard nessas próximas duas provas. Olha só também, do outro lado da arena, o Juan Manuel Seidon também avançando sua caixa. E o Guilherme Domingos não para, hein?
A liderança dessa prova agora, atleta Guilherme Domingos, raia de número 9. 10 minutos, 10 minutos. E a torcida fazendo a diferença aqui no Latin American Regional, Daniel.
Avançando mais uma vez a caixa, Guilherme Domingos. Nós vamos passando de 10 minutos de prova.
10 minutos e meio. Faz barulho pra ele, galera! Atleta da raia de número 3 também avançando. Atleta da raia de número 4 também. Mas quem segue na liderança é o atleta Guilherme Domingos. Mais uma vez, sem muita dificuldade aqui no Dumbbell Step Over. Lembrando que cada Dumbbell tem 70 libras. E a torcida pode agitar, incentivar e os atletas, hein, galera? Vamos para 12 minutos. Avançando. Guilherme Domingos na liderança, raia de número 9. Cinco minutos para o final dessa prova, atletas. Vamos agitar! Vamos agitar, Rio de Janeiro! Último dia de Latin American Regional aqui na Arena Carioca 1. É isso aí!
Mais um avanço para Guilherme Domingos, mantendo a liderança dessa bateria.
A cada 6 repetições, avançando com seu box jump agora. 13 minutos de prova chegando no relógio. Penúltima prova do dia, atletas. Evento de número 5, valendo uma vaga no CrossFit Games. E a torcida contando junto aqui com o atleta. Atleta sentindo muita dificuldade. A gente pode observar também nos outros regionals, né, Daniel?
E olha só, galera, entrando em cena e fazendo barulho. Guilherme aqui chamando a torcida. 14 minutos de prova se aproximando. Vão restar aí apenas 3 minutos para os atletas tentarem ir o mais longe possível nesse evento. E agora sim, menos de 3 minutos para o final.
Vamos que vamos, torcida!
Mariano Sanches avançando também.
É isso aí, galera! Agitando aqui nossa Arena Carioca 1.
Galera contando junto aqui, Nath. Restando 2 repetições para o Guilherme avançar a caixa dele. Último minuto chegando.
Sim, completando, dando a step over, agora sim vai realizar a sua volta do lunge. 50 segundos.
Segundos restando para o fim da bateria.
Últimos segundos. Vamos que vamos. 20 segundos. 15 segundos. Contagem regressiva 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fim de prova!
Faz barulho aí, galera! Essa foi a primeira. 10 seconds.
10 segundos.
Stand by.
Tá começando agora a nossa bateria de número 2, evento 5 aqui no Latin American Regional, a penúltima prova do GPA, são 5 handstands para o evento.
Olha só, galera, fazendo um street handstand push-up ali, hein? Vamos ver como essa estratégia vai compensar aí, hein? Prova muito longa, 50 handstand push-ups para começar.
Go red! Go red!
Vamos o Reginaldo, atleta brasileiro, Reginaldo Silva, está na área de número 8, da CrossFit R2.
E olha só, trabalhando com velocidade já no post bar, Daniel, na raia de número 1. Raia de número 4, Omar Martínez, com velocidade, ele que foi muito bem na prova do residual ontem, hein, Daniel?
Isso mesmo. Liderando essa bateria por enquanto, ainda muito cedo para dizer o que vai acontecer, mas Omar Martínez começando no sua série de Toast to Bar, por enquanto sozinho, e agora quem se prepara para iniciar a sua série de Toast to Bar é o Reginaldo Silva, que está na área de número 8. Eu sei que tem torcida aqui, hein? Cadê a torcida do Reginaldo? Área 8. Área 3 também já iniciou a série de Toast to Bar, o Sebastião Calado.
Reginaldo Silva na raia de número 8, CrossFit R2, e agora também temos mais um atleta realizando as suas séries de Toast to Bar, na raia de número 3, Sebastião Calabro, na raia de número 6, Thomas Wilson também está no Toast to Bar. Gilcinho Duarte também chegou no Toast to Bar, raia de número 2. Evento número 5 individual masculino. Temos 2 atletas ainda trabalhando nas suas repetições de handstand push-up.
É isso mesmo, na rádio número 5, que agora fecha seu handstand push-up, o atleta Éder Costa. Aí de número 9, nós temos o Isaac Farias ainda trabalhando nas suas últimas repetições. E olha só que ele já avança para a Salter Bike na raia de número 4, Omar Martínez, CrossFit 4L. Sozinho por enquanto, hein?
Isso aí, o atleta, por enquanto, sozinho na sua série de 50 calorias de air bike. Quem daqui a pouco vai
o Gilson Duarte, o segundo atleta a entrar na Salter Bike, fechando a série de Toast to Bar.
Vamos chegar em 4 minutos de prova. Lembrando que o time cap dessa prova é de 17 minutos. Agora sim, atleta Reginaldo Silva, junto com Thomas Wilson para a série de Airbike.
Últimas repetições na raia de número 3 para o Sebastian Calabro fechar o seu Toast to Bar. Ele fecha, achou que tinha algumas a mais para fazer, mas não, já fechou 50 repetições. Sebastian Calabro agora na Salter Bike.
Atleta Sebastian Calabro também já na Airbike.
E Heller Carillo chegando agora na raia 7 para iniciar suas 50 calorias. Hector Morales também encerrando os seus 50 Toast to Bar. Temos dois atletas ainda trabalhando aqui na série de Toast to Bar, na raia número 9. Isaac Farias e na raia número 5, Éder Costa, mas que também já devem estar nas suas últimas repetições. Lembrando que quem foi o primeiro atleta a chegar na bike foi Omar Martinez. Vamos ver se ele será o primeiro a sair dela também.
Na bateria de número 1, tivemos o atleta Guilherme Domingues, que terminou aí na frente, mas não conseguiu completar a prova. Time cap de 17 minutos, Daniel.
É isso aí, mas uma excelente performance aí do Guilherme Domingues na bateria anterior. Conseguiu concluir o step over com o dumbbell, entrou na primeira série de overhead lunge com o dumbbell aí e venceu a bateria. Vamos ver nessa aqui como o pessoal se sai. Últimas repetições para Éder Costa na raia 5 no Toast to Bar e também para o Isaac Farias na raia de número 9.
Atleta Isaac Farias e Éder Costa se aproximando aí, ó. Agora sim, Isaac Farias indo para sua Airbike e Éder Costa nas suas últimas repetições de Toast to Bar.
E olha só, na raia 4, o Omar Martinez levantou ali na bike e acelerou um pouquinho, tentando manter a liderança aí. Vamos ver se ele sai primeiro dessa bike.
6 minutos de prova.
Muito cedo ainda para dizer o que vai acontecer. Lembrando que essa segunda metade da prova aqui, na segunda metade da arena, certamente será o divisor de águas aqui. E é ele mesmo, Omar Martinez, com o árbitro já indicando suas últimas calorias na Assault Bike, portanto mantendo a liderança.
Isso mesmo, ele que chegou primeiro aí na bike, agora se preparando para completar suas 50 calorias e iniciar o Dumbbell Box Step Overs com dumbbell de 70 libras. Par, cada um tem 70 libras.
Começando então a série de tortura agora, Omar Martinez no Dumbbell Box Step Over. Últimas repetições ali, últimas calorias na Assault Bike também para o Thomas Wilson, que está na raia de número 6.
Thomas Wilson também se preparando já para finalizar suas calorias na Airbike. E Omar Martinez já no box step over aí, olha só. Thomas Wilson da CrossFit Castaway também chegando para suas séries no Dumbbell Box Step Overs.
Isso mesmo, Tiago, Omar Martinez descansando em cima da caixa. Thomas Wilson não perde tempo, sai da bike, já pega seu par de dumbbells e começa rapidamente a sua série sem quebrarem ainda.
E a torcida do Thomas Wilson tá por aí. Galera veio representar a CrossFit Castaway, tá ali na arquibancada, hein?
Ele já avança, olha só, Thomas Wilson assumindo a liderança da bateria, colocando sua caixa à frente de Omar Martinez, que agora vai avançar a sua caixa também, mas Thomas Wilson bem inteiro aí, sem dificuldades nesse box step over.
Reginaldo Rossi, maravilhoso. Reginaldo da R2, que podia ser o Rossi, saindo agora da Airbike. Eu vou mandar DJ colocar uma música pro Reginaldo, daqui a pouco.
Esse é o Reginaldo Silva. Chegando agora para iniciar a sua série de Double Box na bomba. Thomas Wilson mantendo a liderança. DJ Douglas Grimaldi, solta o Reginaldo Rossi aí, por favor.
Coitados. 9 minutos de prova agora, na liderança Thomas Wilson. Já avançando novamente, Daniel.
Vamos chegando em 10 minutos, próximo de 10 minutos de prova. Thomas Wilson bem avançado aí na liderança dessa bateria.
Olha só. 9 minutos e 40, vamos para 10 minutos de prova. Lembrando que na bateria anterior, Guilherme Domingues foi o atleta que chegou mais longe, mas não conseguiu completar essa prova. Agora sim, chegando em 10 minutos, Thomas Wilson na liderança.
Olha lá o Sebastião Calabro avançando a caixa também, tentando encostar ali no Omar Martinez.
Isso aí, lembrando que o Omar Martinez foi o primeiro atleta a sair da bike, agora sentindo um pouco aí, sentado no box jump para iniciar a sua próxima série. Reginaldo, essa é pra você!
Mais barulho ainda, vamos apoiar aí esses atletas que estão sofrendo nessa bateria com esse Double Box Step Over.
Sofrendo, bora Reginaldo! DJ Douglas Grimaldi, chegando em 11 minutos de prova. Olha a galera cantando! Vamos incentivar os atletas, faltando 6 minutos. É isso aí.
Naquele lado também, vamos ver a galera aí jogando o braço pro lado e pro outro e cantando, incentivando aí o Reginaldo nessa bateria.
É isso aí, aqui, esse é o regional.
Agora sim, agora tá com cara de evento aqui no Brasil, hein? Vamos lá, galera.
Causando os brasileiros, é disso que eu tô falando. 11 minutos e meio de prova, Thomas Wilson já na liderança.
Disparando a liderança, o Thomas Wilson. Vamos chegar em 12 minutos de prova. Thomas Wilson liderando. Bem distante dos outros atletas dessa bateria.
12 minutos de prova, 5 minutos para o final. Thomas Wilson segue na liderança.
Mais um avanço para Thomas Wilson na raia de número 6. Colocando sua caixa à frente. Tentando finalizar esses Double Box Step Overs aqui e entrar nas séries finais do Overhead Lunge.
Vamos chegando em 13 minutos e a torcida do Thomas Wilson ali na CrossFit Castaway incentivando seu atleta. Olha só, acelerando agora, Daniel. Faltando alguns minutos para o final, Thomas Wilson na liderança. E olha só quem está aqui também, atleta da CrossFit Gurka, Éder Costa também.
É isso aí, a estratégia do Hélio aí, ele que foi um pouco mais devagar ali no handstand puxando toast bar, mas certamente fazia parte da estratégia, porque agora ele alcançou aí e está colando, tentando colar aí no Thomas Wilson pela liderança prova.
Olha só, vamos chegar em 14 minutos já de prova. Thomas Wilson nas suas últimas repetições de dumbbell. Box step overs. Costa se aproximando também do final. Thomas Wilson, Daniel, olha só.
Isso mesmo, Nath, ele vai começar agora, então, as suas sequências aí no overhead lunge. São 50 pés com o dumbbell acima da cabeça do lado direito, braço direito, e 50 pés com o braço esquerdo.
É isso aí, faltando alguns minutinhos para o final dessa prova. Thomas Wilson, primeiro atleta a iniciar a sua série de lunges com o dumbbell. Éder Costa se aproximando do final.
É isso mesmo, nós vamos chegar em quase 15 minutos de prova, então vamos restar mais 2 para os atletas. Pode ser que ele feche a prova, e vamos ver se ele consegue. Então nós vamos fechar essa prova aí. Tem um bom tempo aí ainda para tentar concluir as suas repetições.
É isso aí, 15 minutos, 2 minutinhos para o final dessa prova. Atleta na liderança, Thomas Wilson. Olha só, faltando pouco tempo agora. Éder Costa se aproximando também das suas últimas repetições. Cadê a torcida? 1 minuto e meio. 1 minuto e meio. Uma prova duríssima, Daniel, depois de tudo que eles passaram esses dias para conseguir a tão esperada vaga do CrossFit Games, apenas uma vaga. Éder Costa se preparando também.
Thomas Wilson vai completar a primeira passagem no overhead walking lunge ali com o dumbbell. Agora é só fazer a volta.
1 minuto.
1 minuto para ele tentar fechar a prova agora com o dumbbell acima da cabeça do lado esquerdo. Daí a torcida do Thomas aí.
50 segundos, atletas.
Éder Costa vai começar.
Olha a torcida do Thomas pedindo incentivo aí pra ele. Vamos ajudar o atleta. Vamos aplaudir, galera. Isso aí, 30 segundos. Éder Costa também já no seu trajeto. Vamos nos aproximando dos 20 segundos finais. 15 segundos.
E atenção, atletas, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fim de prova! Parabéns, uma salva de palmas para esses atletas. Já já eles estarão de volta para o evento de número 6. Thomas Wilson, CrossFit Castaway, vencendo essa bateria, seguido de Éder Costa.
The Latin America regional round of the CrossFit Games. Welcome inside Arena Carioca 1 here in Rio de Janeiro. We have already crowned a team and sent them to Madison, the first Colombian nationals. Colombian parceros. Joel Cadet, Chase Ingram, Tefi Escudero, glad to have you along with us. Now we decide which one male will go to the CrossFit Games. Right now, it's Pablo Chalfun, but Chase, very easily, it could be anybody else listed in front of you.
Oh, we just saw that happen on the team side where the team was winning by 20 to 22 points above the teams in second and third and lost that lead. 2 and 4 separate first through third. Andre Sanchez and Anderon Primo have a legitimate shot to get back up in this first place position.
First individual event of the day, it is a chipper, and the first true chipper we see, 50 handstand push-ups, 50 toes to bar, then the assault bike, then the dumbbell box step over, then a right arm overhead lunge, then a left arm overhead lunge. The dumbbells are 70 pounds, You have 70 minutes with which to work. Which part of that sucks most?
The last half, I guess I could say, is, the assault bike's no fun, but the box steppers seem to be the turning point for most athletes in this particular event. The 50 step overs proved to be quite a formidable obstacle for these athletes.
In lane 5, Batuke Iribarren has been one of the names we've been looking at all throughout this regional round. He's in his 6th regional and was the first Argentinian to go to regionals with a 5th place finish back in 2011. Mauro Acevedo also in this heat. He went to the games last year as a part of the Big Friends team from Big Recoleta in Argentina. And Acevedo usually comes out with hair on fire, so we'll see how he attacks a chipper here in event 5.
Maybe that's why he dyed his hair the way he did. It's how he likes to start events. And, we saw him come out very strong on the barbell heavy events. Latin Linda, again, screaming out of the gates on the deadlift. Touch and go on the snatches yesterday afternoon in event number 4, but I think a bit more control here on the handstand push-ups. One, just because it's a lot of reps. 2, if you guys look at the matting here, this is the matting that was supplied to us by the venue. This is the matting they use in fencing in the Olympics, as you talked about earlier. It's not the softest material in the world, so you can't really kind of bang off the ground too hard. There's not a lot of give there, so you got to be a little bit more controlled on your descent for those handstand push-ups.
You could. It just depends on how well you work out with a migraine. That's the big question.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you want the top of your head to feel tomorrow morning, I guess. But, this is the end of the weekend, so you might as well leave it all out there. And you look at this event from start to finish. The very beginning, the 50 toes to bar, followed after the handstand push-ups, it's a trap. This is not where all the work needs to be put into for this particular event. Just because you're good doesn't mean you need to buy yourself time. That is incorrect. You want to negative split that. That means start or finish faster than you started. That assault bike right there in the middle is kind of that mid-pace point of the event. And then get gritty with it, which means at the end, there's nothing crazy skill involved with box step overs. Overhead lunges with the dumbbell down and back. All that really takes is the willingness and the desire to keep grinding through. So when you talk about what the hard part of this event is, it's being able to stay in the fight on the last half with those step overs and lunges.
Nobody has finished this test yet here in Latin America. Last week, only 16 of 113 competitors across the first 3 regionals, Southeast Europe, were able to finish. Patrick Vellner did it best in 14:35.
That 17 minutes is a tight time cap when you're looking at the total volume in this event. Now, I'll say is that this is about as close as mimicking what the normal event will be that we've seen on the individual level in a little while. The only advantage I say they have is just once they get through the toes to bar and to the assault bike is look at the left side of your screen. Look at how narrow those boxes are. The other boxes they had to use are almost twice as wide, about 2 feet in width. That required a lot more time on top of the box. Here, it's just a little step over, so just a tiny bit easier for these athletes. However, they're using a hard box, so if you screw up a little bit, you're gonna pay for it more than those soft ones.
First one to the bike out of lane 3 is Lucas Almeida. He is the crowd favorite. He is from Rio de Janeiro. And Chase, if we have learned anything this weekend, doesn't matter who you are. As long as your driver's license reads Rio de Janeiro, they will absolutely lose their minds when you do well.
I mean, what we heard in heat number 1 of this event was the loudest cheering I've heard at any regional I have ever been to. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in heat number 4 if you have any Brazilian within earshot or eye shot of the finish line against somebody else.
Lucas Rosa in lane 10, Agustin Garavaglia there in lane 9. Paulo Hosio with the hand in the air trying to finish cranking out his toe to bar in lane 6, taking his time before re-jumping And this is where you have to be careful. It's easy to get no reps on a toes to bar when you get tired because your toes literally have to go to the bar. They must touch, and that when you run out of gas is something that can falter.
Well, that's what I say. The beginning part is a trap. That is a huge mistake to put yourself in a hole physically to get through the 50 handstand push-ups and 50 toes to bar. I think a lot of time people look at the clock as the only measurement of how well you should start an event. Just because you bought yourself time in the beginning does not mean it was a good idea that you did that towards the end. What you want to see on this assault bike is that you get there feeling you can do 50 handstand push-ups and toes to bar in a somewhat relaxed state if you break it up enough and still have a good time. What you don't want to do is get here fatigued so much on the assault bike, you are going to lose way more time going slow here than you are going to gain going fast in the beginning.
Emmanuel Maldonado is in the SJU, the black shirt, but I like the teal shorts. He was the champion of this regional the last time it was held, Latin America in 2014. He comes in as the guy who you're immediately looking at as one of the favorites just because he is a known commodity, having been the most recent champion. But he's 28 years old this year, and he comes into the day sitting in 16th place. And there's a difference between being 24 and being 26. Maldonado probably wanted to see a little bit more out of himself, but he still had a good showing.
We got to think of the difference in the strides that Latin America has made in total in 4 years. So it's not really surprising to see some challenging here of an athlete that did well 4 years ago. The level of competition that has risen in Latin America, there's a reason why they've got their own regional now. So to, sure, everybody wants to do better. I think he's doing just fine. It just, the competition level it's black and white as it was back in 2014.
And for him in particular, too, he's overcome some injuries in that time. Got hurt in 2015. He was out 6 to 8 months. So in some respects, for him just to get back here, that was a personal triumph as well, as much as getting back to the games would have been nice as well. I also will say he is one of the best people in this arena at noticing when he's on the big board. You saw the tongue hang out, and he's just caught himself again. Emmanuel Maldonado plays to the crowd as well as anybody. Almost 10 minutes left to go. And poor Sammy Ariza back in lane 3 got hung up on the handstand push-ups. The last one to get to a bike, and the first one to get off the bike is a Brazilian. Listen to him. That's just a little roar. Fabio De Kiki, 28-year-old. The electrical engineer turned coach. Acevedo now. He talked about the difference in boxes earlier. These are those hard wooden boxes. The other ones are those soft cushion boxes. They have Velcro. They can be stacked into taller boxes, just hooking them together. And they are wider. They're squares. These are rectangles.
Well, that width makes a huge difference in terms of time spent on top of the box, which is the most challenging part of the box step-overs, is sitting there with two 70-pound dumbbells in your hands, in that weight, in that crouched quarter squat position is devastating on the legs.
You did say, though, yesterday, while those boxes are lighter, these do slide easier.
That's another little bonus, is that you can kind of just push them forward. They slide really nice on these mats. And if you go back to how these athletes went over the wall, some of the baseball slides I saw, just a little bit of chalk on the mats makes it very slick. It's not like sliding on those rubber mats we've seen at other regionals.
Still looking for our first finisher on this 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50 chipper. I could have counted that ahead of time and told you 50 by 6 chipper. Acevedo putting all his might behind that box. We've seen people use some different ways to move the box. We've seen pulls, we've seen pushes, we've seen lifts. There in lane 5, Batuki Iribarren lifting it. It's up to you. The box just has to move.
The last thing I'd want to do is to carry dumbbells around for 50 step-overs as well as the box. If they can slide for you, that push slide is enough of a recovery and distress to just move it into the next lane, go back and pick up your dumbbells.
It is legal to put the dumbbells on the box. The box just cannot assist you moving them. So Acevedo will have to pick the dumbbells up, reestablish control before stepping over. He can't vault himself up onto the box using them.
Is that a decent pace? You know, Acevedo is just a strong guy. I mean, just look at the legs on him. So to have that underneath you on the step-ups is a definite advantage in terms of strength to do this particular movement.
Melina Rodriguez on the women's side is in the best position of the broken off members of Big Friends, who went to the games last year as a team and finished 18th. On the men's side, it's Ivan Gaitan and Acevedo, Melina Rodriguez and Jennifer Reyes on the women's side. You look back at it in hindsight. Was it a good idea to come as individuals, to go the way of, you know, Harry Styles is performing across the street tonight, to go the way of the boy brand breakup, or do you come as a team and go back to the games and try to make it 2 in a row?
I mean, honestly, it depends on what your goals are as an athlete. You know, just because the team looked like they would have been a favorite to go to the games that they made a mistake is one way to look at it. But if you talk to all 4 of them, you know, I think is that they made the games last year out of the Super South Regional, and then they come back home, and they are all great caliber individual athletes. And if your dream was to compete individually on the biggest stage in front of your home crowd, then chase that dream. You know, the hindsight of, yeah, maybe they could have made it, but I tell you what, it made it for interesting from the team side to see how it shaked out today for us.
You read Acevedo's mind.
That is a very interesting way to move the box. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, that was great. I hope he does that again.
Acevedo said, hey, we went as a team last year. I'm not done yet. Individual was that next step, and that is part of why.
Well, you see that a lot with individuals that were previous on teams for multiple years, is to test the individual water just a little bit.
And then there's the Rich Froning, which is the reverse side of that.
Right.
I've accomplished it all. Let's go as a team. Erie Barin with 11 and a half gone by. Out of Giacomo CrossFit in Buenos Aires, one of the more well-represented boxes here. Sebastian Calabro, Sasha Nieves as well. And Erie Barin just walking that thing forward. And see the sweat just dripping off. And for those of you at home, it is cold in here. It's not like they're sweating because it's hot in here. They are sweating because they are exhausted. Dave Castro, you've done your job.
Well, you know, I think when you look at the faces on these athletes, there is guaranteed a sheepish, I would say, Grinch-style grin coming over the face of Dave Castro as he watches what this does to the athletes. Now, Acevedo's last push, you know, he's changing it up every time. You know, he used his hips on the last one, used the top of his head on this one. So he definitely gets bonus points for having the most unique and random style of box advancing.
You get 5 seconds at the end for creativity, right? Maldonado thrusting the box forward. After this, if you think you're exhausted after this, once that box is moved to the very end and you have completed your 50 box step overs, you then have to shoulder one dumbbell and push the other over your head and lunge down the lane, turn around, switch, and lunge back. And for an extra punch in the gut, if at any point in time the shouldered dumbbell drops below your waist, no rep. 13:11. We are about 1 minute and 20 seconds away from the time in which Patrick Vellner completed this workout for the event record last week out of the East.
So Acevedo in lane 7, Maldonado just to his right. These are 2 of your top athletes in this heat, and they're matched up. Maldonado is behind the pace by Acevedo after the assault bike, but since then has made up a lot of ground on these step overs.
One of the hardest things in this, look at the way that Maldonado just throws those dumbbells, is having to go back for 140 pounds of weight after you've already moved your box. So it's almost an extra farmer's carry that is implied in the event, not listed.
I think it's one of the things that people kind of take for granted is they're so focused on what the legs are doing to get over the box, and they're not giving enough attention to how hard it is to hang on to those dumbbells for as long as they have. The grip after, handstand push-ups, pressure into the hands messes with your grip. Hanging on to toes to bar for 50 reps messes with your grip. The bike's not going to bother too much, but holding on to these dumbbells is just as much of a test as it is stepping over that box.
There is the benefit of not having to open the hip crease. You can just step. You have to put 2 feet on the box at one point. You can't literally step over it, but you don't have to extend upward. And you see Emmanuel Maldonado just keeps the low center of gravity and moves over top.
And that's what I'm saying, is just watch his hips as he goes over the box. As soon as that foot steps up, it never raises above that, where the back foot just kind of sneaks on top of the box.
And that smokes your legs, by the way, to hold that crouched position up there. Inside of 2 minutes remaining, will anybody in this third heat get to the walking overhead lunges? Thomas Wilson almost finished the entire workout in Heat 2. The CrossFit Castaway, member of the British Virgin Islands, really did a good job. Cap +3.
I mean, he was only 2 sections away from finishing. That extra plus is just not getting to the finishing mat, and he's going to have the best time to beat after this heat, and I think that comes into play when you come to the end of this. You're looking side to side, and all these guys are focusing on each other, and I think one thing that's important is that you know what happened before you. This is Heat 3. We've had 2 heats before this. So yes, you're doing well in your heat respective to who you're competing against, but you also really do need to understand is what happened before you, and you still have one more after this. So it's dangerous to compete against the people in your heat knowing that there's still 4 of them total.
All right, walking lunge here. Maldonado is the first one to it. He has left Acevedo in his dust, by the way. Acevedo has even been passed by Paulo Josiel, the former professional baseball player out of Guatemala. He is in lane 6 and on to the walking lunge. And he's got 18 seconds with which to pick up some reps. Former pitcher. Figure that arm's strong enough to keep that dumbbell up for the next 5 seconds. It'll be Maldonado that wins the heat. He does not catch Wilson, who right now is still your event leader. What a boon it would be if Thomas Wilson could pick up an event win on Sunday. He's not going to the games, but it'd be a nice little cap to your weekend. We will see what happens in Heat 4. But before that, let's watch what happened again in Heat 3.
Well, you got your 2 guys right there side by side, lane 7, lane 8, Acevedo on the left, Maldonado on the right. As we've seen all weekend, as Acevedo came out to a very quick start and started to falter towards the end. Maldonado in lane number 8, moving his box just ahead towards the last 2 sections. Not able to finish the event in total, not able to get the best time to beat, but it was good enough for the best score in his heat.
Arena Carioca 1 is loaded. Welcome to the Latin America Regional, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This place is going bonkers anytime a Brazilian makes a move. Chase Ingram, Joel Gadet, Tefi Escudero, glad to have you along with us on this, the final day of week 2 of the Latin America Regional, or the, CrossFit Games Regionals. Either way. Standings on the men's side, Pablo Chalfun came in as the lowest seed. He was the last man in, and on Sunday, he's the first man standing.
Oh, Ricky Bobby, Pablo Chalfun sitting in top with 306, but we have some contenders just behind him on his heels. Luis Oscar Mora, Manuel Gallegos, and then you have 2 more Brazilians behind them in 4th and 5th place with Andre Sanchez and that Brazilian CrossFit Games champion that they have a local competition here for their country. Anderon Primo is back in the mix.
Shake and bake. 50 handstand push-ups, 50 toes to bar, 50 cows on the assault bike, 50 dumbbell box step overs, 50-foot right arm lunge, 50-foot left arm lunge, 17 minutes. In lane 5, Pablo Chalfun, he is your leader. He will look to each side of him and see his pursuers. Gallegos in lane 4. Oscar Mora is in lane 6. This will set the tempo and set the table and the tone for what needs to happen in event 6. Set the table for who is going to the games.
We still have 2 scored events for this final day, so a lot can change coming up in events 5 and event 6. And when you approach event number 5, is that don't take the early bait too soon unless you know you can set an event record. It's a trap. Don't go too fast. Pace yourself through the handstand push-ups and the toes to bar.
And look at Oscar Mora flying through the handstand push-ups.
Right, he's 19, you know, he's probably really excited, but negative split this event, meaning in terms of effort. Make the first part easy, get to the bike, get off the bike, and then start putting the hammer down. You have to get dirty and gritty at the end of this event. Box step overs, lunges with the dumbbell. It's not about strength as much as it is about how tough these athletes can be towards the end.
Ivan Gaitan is in the foreground there. He was the guy that came in, we just talked about Mauro Acevedo, with a lot of hype. Gaitan was the main man that broke off from that big Friends team that went to the games last year. He came in as your leader in the region out of the open. Struggled through the heavy squat yesterday that knocked him down in the overall standings. And look at him go when a Brazilian makes a move.
We still have a long way to go as we move from 50 handstand push-ups to 50 toes to bar. Now, San, what's waiting in the wings here at the very end of this event? 50 box step overs. You got to hold on to 70-pound dumbbells in each hand, which is taking a very long time. That's holding dumbbells for a very long time, and then you have to go into a lunge after that. These toes to bar are going to have a major effect on how your grip feels going into that portion. So it's more beneficial to do smaller sets if you don't have the strongest grip in the world. Take little breaks and get back up. You don't want to smoke your grip here and not have it for the most important part of this event, and that's the box step overs.
Manuel Gallegos there in lane 4, the Mexican. He is chasing in 3rd place coming into the day, and talked to Tefi a little bit earlier.
Manuel Gallegos, with a background in basketball, coach said it was too small for it and changed his sport to American football. Saw CrossFit on social media and gave it a shot. Just graduated for physical engineer and now a full-time coach. He'd rather be in the bottom and make his way up, but the events that played well for him were just first in these 3 days of competition. He expected to do better in event 1 and not too great in event 2, but it went the other way around. Rope climbs or chest to bar pull-ups are the same for him, just wants to finish at the top 12 and is not letting anything distract him from his performance. He's able to put in the work, he loves doing the work and expects to do well here, but maybe come back next year and make this for the win with no questions asked. Can't wait to hear more from him.
Tefi Gallegos is doing well, but Chalfun just made his way to the assault bike, and this place erupted. That's Maxi Aragosi in the foreground, Luis Perez on the far side. His partner Leah Schmidt has done very well this weekend on the women's individual side. Gallegos has now made his way to the assault bike.
And it's the middle part of this event where the tide can turn from those who are very good with gymnastic skills, usually your lighter, quicker athletes. Then you come to a bike that requires a lot of conditioning and work capacity. Sanchez just getting to the bike. I think that's gonna be fine. Let's see how it plays out. I think Sanchez is gonna be fine. And you get through the bike, and then you get to where the tough guys, the realm of the beasts, here in Latin America, the box step overs are looming in the foreground.
Chalfoun gets to the bike, and this place just loses its mind. Sanchez, who was the darling on Friday, gets to the bike like it's cool. You know, we're on to Chalfoun.
Well, everybody likes a winner.
Chalfoun right now, the hunted. How about a couple of American football players in the top 3? Chalfoun out of Brazil. Who knew they played American football down here? He was a safety. Manny Gallegos, to his right, your left, also tried his hand at American football in Mexico.
Well, one probably was a bit more successful than the other based off how they look.
Gallegos, 5'9". Tefi said his coaches told him he was too small for basketball.
Well, they were right. 5'9" is not going to work. But he is pretty darn good at CrossFit.
Nobody said anything about Earl Boykins.
Yeah. Now, Chalfoun's pace on the bike when he first got on was pretty aggressive. And I don't think it's a bad thing because he looks very calm. I like that relaxed look on him. And, you know, your bigger, stronger guys are going to be a bit better at the bike. Oscar Mora.
The hand is in the air for the man next to him, though, Chalfoun. Listen to what happens when Pablo Chalfoun gets off the assault bike. This is the built-in advantage of competing in your home country. That's happening for one man, and only one man. And he definitely knows.
Here's where the event gets real for these athletes. 70-pound dumbbells in each hand, 50 box step overs to get across the competition floor before we finish with those overhead lunges.
Now look at the strategy that Chalfoun is using. He takes the first step up, his second step, he twists the leg open, presumably makes it easier to step down and turn around in one motion and save himself some time.
It's actually just a lot easier to step off the box and be in position to step back up. The difference between the two, if you guys look at this, is when Chalfoun gets to the box, he's on the left side of your screen. Look at this lateral approach. Sideways, step off. He's already set in a position to step back on. What we see in other athletes do is that they have this forward, straight ahead approach. Now, when you do that, you step forward off the box, but then your back is turned. It requires a lot more effort to rotate back. So look at, there's one. He'll step off to the side. He's turning on the box. Now that is an okay thing to do, but I think stepping backwards is a bit more challenging than off to the side.
Well, and once you turn on the box, you're opening your hips a little bit more, which means you're coming to full extension, which means you're spending more time up there. Luis Oscar Mora trying to make his move. Second place to start the day. If he could jump and pass Chalfoun, look at the history that Luis Oscar Mora would be making. The youngest qualifier ever to go to the games. There have been some teens that have gone.
Chalfoun in the center lane. Great positioning. Oscar Mora moving up into that third or fourth position.
Closing in on 9 minutes here with a 17-minute cap. They're on their feet for Chalfoun.
Well, it would be too if my athlete was leading at the end of day 2 to start day 3, and as well as in this event. And he's doing so well. He's putting himself in such a good position. I like his lateral approach to the step overs. It works well because of the width of this spot. We've seen a lot of different styles so far. I think his is proved to be the best. Now, Oscar Mora, who's on the right, is 6 reps behind him, but watch what he does. See him swing those dumbbells forward? Now, what this does is it gives him some momentum to shoot over the box just a little bit. So if you don't have the strength to just step up there, swinging those dumbbells gives you a lot of momentum, but to almost carry you over the box. He'll turn, reach back, swing them forward, and you can see it almost pulls him over the top. So that's a good strategy for Oscar Mora. I like that.
Oscar Mora would be the youngest to go to the games at 19. There's a tie for that. No 18-year-old has ever come out of the men's division. For Chalfoun, he would be the lowest rated athlete coming out of the Open to advance to the games since Cody Anderson
Check
in
the
2014.
right side of your screen.
And Andre Sanchez has reemerged in lane 7.
I told you if he got to the bike last, it was going to be okay, because he's not what you would look at. The guy's tall, he's long. He's not a handstand push-up guy or a toes to bar, but when you get to the bike, he's gonna be fine. And the height advantage he has helps on the box. Now, he's caught up a lot since that has started. He can't give it up here towards the end.
I wanna know who the crowd's gonna pick. This place is erupting, chanting for Pablo Chalfoun. There is Sanchez trying to make a move. There is still plenty of time left in this test. Sanchez moving the box.
Now he's moving the box sooner than Chalfoun has got away in the previous section. Here comes Oscar Mora on the right. So Chalfoun is starting to give up a lot of time to these other 3 athletes.
The box advances every 6 dumbbell step overs. Gallegos has fallen well off pace. Chalfoun is your leader in lane 5. Nicholas Bidarche in lane 8 looks unfazed as well. Sanchez may have burned the gas tank to get to where he is. Oscar Mora, shorter in stature, it's a higher step. He is still keeping pace, and Chalfoun just jettisoned his dumbbells. You can see off the side of the graphic.
Now, see, one slight disadvantage for Chalfoun is watch when he starts to go over the box. Watch what his arms do. Sanchez now 4 reps behind Chalfoun. Look at him have to pick him up. That's what happens when you're shorter. You're closer to the box, so you have to pick up and bend your arms. You want to make a step over harder, you pick your arms up like that. Chalfoun asking his judge how many he has as Oscar Mora moves into. Oscar Mora on the right, just 2 points behind Chalfoun. We still have a lot of time left, just over 4 minutes.
And this isn't even the end of the event. There is still a 50-foot overhead lunge with each hand.
So these athletes have about 8 reps left to go. So Chalfoun moves into the round through 48. So he's done with 42. He'll do 6 in this section. He'll advance the box 1 more time to finish out the last 2.
Sanchez has caught him. They are tied, and now Chalfoun keep count. 1 rep ahead. 2 reps ahead. Sanchez burning valuable seconds as Chalfoun rests.
It's still only 2 reps difference. Now it's 1. Sanchez has to understand the position that he's in. He is now tied with Chalfoun, 1 rep ahead, tied again. And I think what's hard for Xiaofun in lane number 5 to the left side of your screen is that the work he's having to do with his arms to just get the dumbbells over the box might come into play as a factor that'll limit his ability to hold the dumbbells on the overhead lunges.
The dumbbell and box will advance for 2 reps on this last section. Your intervals of 6 get you to 48. This is a 50 rep portion.
Here's what I want to see from Sanchez. With 2 minutes left, the time to beat is 2 sections away from the finish. He is now moved just ahead of Xiaofun over in lane number 5. The guy has long limbs and long legs. He could out-lunge Xiaofun, but it depends on who wants to pick it up first.
Don't sit down. Xiaofun will pull up the knee guards. Sanchez, the first man over his dumbbells. 90 seconds. Sanchez trying to be a mover and a shaker.
Now, how does this factor onto the leaderboard? Sanchez is 22 points behind Xiaofun with 1 event after this. And in a sprint event, you need to make sure is that you get as many points as possible between or taken away between you and Xiaofun.
It is important to note, however far ahead Sanchez is, doesn't matter. He could run down this lane ahead of Xiaofun. The point tally will be equal if he is first and Xiaofun is second. He just needs to keep
That's
up.
incorrect. You get a point for every section, so it will matter how far away he is.
True.
Don't put the dumbbells down. There's 40 seconds left in the event. Oh my gosh. What are you
just
doing?
passed him. Sanchez checking behind him at the timer with 29 seconds. And Sanchez is all out. Sanchez is all out.
Xiaofun needs to make the turn, at least stay ahead and get more points between you and the 2 guys chasing you. And that is now Luis Oscar Mora and Manuel Gallegos.
And Xiaofun wins.
I wish I could say more on how I feel about that. And I think I kind of expressed how I felt about that towards the end, but Xiaofun off the bike first in the middle. Sanchez was to the bike nearly last in this side-to-side start. And this is when you see, look how straight his arms are here. Right? We saw him start bending it more towards the end. Right side of your screen, Sanchez made a move in the last half, and he made it up on the bike, he made it up on the box step overs, and he just might have put too much out there to try to catch Xiaofun towards the end. Now what Xiaofun did is exactly what he needed to do against the people that are chasing him down and that stay ahead of him. It wasn't the best score we've seen for the day, but it's what he needed against the athletes here that are gonna run him down.
And to clarify the point, it was no matter the margin there, at the end of the day, if you were in first, it doesn't matter how much you beat him for second. You get the same amount of points being in first place versus you would on the leaderboard in second place. So that's where the margin of victory comes in there. And with a margin of victory, we go down to Tefi and Pablo Xiaofun.
Pablo, you were excited about the lunges that were concluding.
Yeah, I told you. I told you if I be on the lunges next someone, I could surpass him. That's because of my background of football. I'm so good on lunges, so good at lunges. And the crowd, man, I was so tired on the steps. Was doing like 2 reps each time and dropping the dumbbells. But when I got in the lunges, all the crowd screaming. So that was amazing again.
What are you going to do in the next event to keep this going?
This next event will be for the people, for the whole city, my whole city, Rio de Janeiro, and for everyone in Brazil. We've been suffering a lot because of strikes, because of governments.
Did you have a plan coming into the weekend?
What?
Did you have a plan coming into the weekend?
Repeat.
A plan? Você tem plan?
My plan is go as fast as I can. For the next event, go as the fast as I can. I hope it will be enough.
Awesome job here. We'll see you in the next event.
Obrigado, galera. Brasil.
Pablo Chalfoun leads the way in Heat 4, Event 4, or rather Event 5, with one event left to go. We'll see if he has given himself some breathing room and a chance to go to Madison. We're back to Rio next.